Greetings, friends, and welcome to a lesson about writing your own tall tale. Now, I know you've heard of a lot of interesting characters in these tall tale stories, like John Henry, the steel-driving man who beat a machine, and Pecos Bill, who rode a tornado. Pretty crazy stuff. Even Paul Bunyan, that really gigantically tall lumberjack, cutting down entire forests with a single swing. Now's the time to create your own character, and I have a special outline that will help you do that. Here's that outline. Now, you could use this also to analyze a character that already exists, and that might also help you to get into what is needed in here. I also have an example here that's on the drive, and that we'll go over right now so you can get an idea of how to create your own. Now, the first thing I did was to pick a historic event. This could be like the creation of a geographic area. It could be a major disaster, or it could be something fantastic, like an invention that was created. I chose the creation of Devil's Tower in Wyoming. It's a really tall formation out in the middle of nowhere, and it looks like a tower. It's pretty crazy. So, the next thing you're going to think about is how did that happen? Or what happened around that event that is so exciting and larger than life? I said that it was created during a fight between my character and a devil wrestling under the crust of the earth. And when the devil lost, he hit his head on the earth, creating the Devil's Tower. How cool is that? Once I have those two pieces of my story together, I can start working on my character. It's asking when and where my character was born. I did some research on where the Devil's Tower is. It's in Wyoming, and I also looked at when people were settling Wyoming, because many of these tall tales were created when some of these places weren't necessarily inhabited enough that people could say, "Hey, that never happened. That sounds ridiculous." I said my character was born in Wyoming in the early 1800s because it seems that Wyoming was being settled then. There weren't a lot of people yet. He was born in a mountain, or potentially abandoned as a baby and raised by bears. Let's move to the second sheet. It asks if anything interesting happened as they grew up. Well, my character liked to wrestle and wrestled bears. They actually taught him to wrestle. Oh, he also wrestled buffalo and devils. How crazy. So, what was the most famous thing that they did? This will be the event that you picked. And we've got to talk about how they accomplished it. So I wrote that he fought a nasty devil and they fell into the earth. The devil hit his head on the crust of the earth and caused the Devil's Tower. He also lost the fight. The last thing on this sheet asks if there was anything special about the end of their life. Did they have a natural death, or did something very interesting happen? And this is different for every character. Some of the characters we read about, they did die. A natural death of old age, or they died while they were trying to accomplish the thing, like John Henry. Or there's others that it's sort of left open and there's not really an answer. I wrote that he wandered off to find more fights, potentially punching the craters that we see in the moon. So not really a definite answer there, just an open ending. On the third sheet, there's a space for you to write anything else that's interesting about your character. Why are they remembered? And are there other stories about them? I wrote that he may have caused the Grand Canyon as well as Crater Lake from tossing opponents in fights. The last thing you're going to want to do is take all your information and think about a fantastic name for this character. A larger-than-life character needs a larger-than-life name, and you might think about making something silly or really fantastic and using what you wrote, maybe the event, to help with that name. The name of my character is Devil Wrastlin' Dan because he wrestled that devil and created Devil's Tower. Once you have all this filled out, you might start to get the idea of how to put it all together. You're going to want to start with something like long, long ago, or way out on the prairies, or up in the mountains of Wyoming. You're going to start by mentioning the event, also the name of your character. Like, this is how they got that name, or this is the tale of how this happened, how Devil's Tower was created. Then write about their birth and any special circumstances. Talk about when and where they were born, anything else that might have happened. And then also write about what their life was like as they grew up, especially if there's something silly in there too. Then we can move on to writing about the major event that was caused. And finally, you can write about the end of their life or leave that ending a little more open with a cliffhanger, suggesting that they might still be around somewhere. Make sure to create a fantastic title for your story with the name of your character and the event that occurred. At this point, I'm pretty much ready. I'm going to go back through my outline and think about all the things I wrote. And I've already got a paper ready to write my story on. The Tale of Devil Rasslin' Dan by Samuel Jagoda. I'm going to make sure to mention that this happened long ago in Wyoming in the early 1800s. That Devil Wrestling Dan was born potentially under a mountain, or maybe was abandoned as a baby and raised by bears. That he helped to create the Devil's Tower because he really liked to wrestle, and all those other fantastic details that I put into my outline. I can't wait to read the crazily tall tales that you will conjure. Have fun, my friends.